mode.
Good morning, everyone. Good day if you're in EMEA, and good evening if you're in APJ. You're joining the third session of the Post-Discover London Summit series going on today, tomorrow, and the next day. Our topic in this session is called The Benefit of Transforming Your IT Event into Autonomous Operations Management with HPE OpsBridge. We want to welcome our members. Again, this is for the Post-Discover Summit, and the whole purpose of this summit was to bring to you, our members, for the folks that couldn't attend the Discover Summit, some of the highlights, some of the better sessions, some of the newest content available that HPE is bringing to its customers and you, our members. This session is brought to you by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. I'm your host. I'm Rocky Pisto. I'm VP of Sales for PCI. I'm a LUG and SIG leader for longer than I can remember. And I'll be hosting the event today for you. Harold Barros is the product manager and our speaker today. He's with HPE Software Enterprise, focused in the OpsBridge area. Couple of housekeeping items. This is a live session. It's being recorded so that people that could not attend the session can view it on the Vivid website. You'll be getting an email if you did register for this event when we have the recording in place. If you click where you see the red arrow, you can enlarge your screen. This is a new platform we're using and with new functionality, so a little different than what we've had the last 3 or 4 years. So take advantage of that. And if you have questions, we have a panel on the left-hand side. You can actually select, if you can see the blue arrow where it shows the American flag or from the United States, you can change that to your language, type in your question in your own language, and the presenters will see it in their native language and try to answer your question. So we're trying to make this as friendly as possible to ask questions and to make it as interactive at the end if we've got a few minutes. And with that, Harold, it's all yours.
So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining. I use the language button and speak in German, and then it automatically translates. Unfortunately, it's not that advanced, but luckily I'll be able to speak English. So, I'll lead you through the session today, and we're going through what we presented at HPE Discover London. We are back from another extremely good show for the Operations Bridge, looking at the traffic at our booth. A lot of you were interested coming, these are customers, whether you were there or other customers coming to the booth, learning what we have to talk about in the Operations Bridge space. Our booth was the most visited booth in the ITOM area. And I think that's due to the fact of addressing key needs that you bring to us in the products that we are and solutions that we are delivering. So let me talk you through our offering that we have, in particular what we brought to you at HPE Discover. First of all, a few introductory slides. When we're looking at IT, really what we've seen from HPE is that IT needs to change in order to allow the business to move faster. I have another slide that goes into other details on that one as well. But the key items that we are looking into is really realizing the efficiency of IT. When a company goes in and tries to implement new applications, utilizing things like microservices, utilizing things like Docker in order to allow them using state-of-the-art technology that allows them elastic scalability, that allows them to utilize functionalities such as new high availability concepts, where the cluster for you manages itself and makes sure that these services keep up and running, really allows a more efficient development of applications, because it allows us to not take care of those capabilities. It also drives us faster agility, because we can utilize tools like Docker, Kubernetes, etc., as well as overall allowing us to accelerate the innovation. So as the IT transfers from the traditional IT over to the digital enterprise, utilizing these concepts, it's a journey, essentially, that will give us the efficiency, agility gain, and gain in innovation speed that we need. And the way that we basically support that from a HP solution perspective is helping you automating tasks that you're doing in the day-to-day of your IT operations, help you to orchestrate processes across multiple different systems, across multiple different tasks, and overall transform the user experience and the delivery of the overall IT service, providing you portals that give you real-time information of your IT, as well as allowing you to drive the business from those portals. Now, looking into our ITOM offering in general, before we then go into the specific of the Operations Bridge, we have a core technology foundation across the portfolio, where we're leveraging analytical capabilities and machine learning across the board, whether it is for the service desk capabilities from smart analytics, or inside of the Operations Bridge, the analytical capabilities, which I will dive in that presentation into a lot more detail. So diving into our today's agenda, what specifically from an operations perspective do we see as industry trends? What do we see as HP's solution that we basically have in the market, our operations product? And then what are the news from a Discover perspective, and what are we changing going forward? And then a demo wasn't working out, so I put a barcode in that you basically can take a look at the demo that we did at Discover. It's still up and running, and you can go walk through on your own time using that barcode with the barcode reader on your mobile phone. As you get the slides after the presentation, you can do that anytime after the presentation, as it is a continuously running demo. Okay, so looking a little bit at the our IT industry, and I mentioned that already at the first slide, we have different forces that are kind of disrupting how IT is really driving business. I mentioned already at the first slide, Docker, new technologies. It really is allowing us to much faster drive the idea economy into a solution. You no longer need to hire a database expert, a IT administrative expert if you want to have a new idea that you want to bring live. You can actually go to cloud services, get your capabilities in the cloud, rent the capabilities, database services, etc., to actually get your idea to the business faster. Now, those new business models like Uber, etc., is definitely a prime model typically used, is disrupting the industry. A lot of new solutions are coming quicker to market, are being developed faster and brought and changing the overall industry, like Uber, for example, the taxi industry. And then, in addition to the classical IT changes, we now have all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but slowly developed, the Internet of Things, where all the items that didn't used to be connected to the Internet all of a sudden get connected to the Internet, want to be managed to the Internet, and quite often also be added to be controlled. And this also now, one, provides more things to be managed on one side, but also provides an opportunity to centrally, for example, control trains, to be able from a central place to understand where your train is as it traverses your network of chains and tracks, and be able to control the train from a central place, have an understanding of the health of the train centrally, and be able to analyze if problems are there quickly. So these are things that are now possible using software technology and using also IT technology in the industrial world. Now, inside the forces from inside the IT, which are actually changing and are demanding new changes on the overall IT delivery, that technology is a business strategy. Now, as we're utilizing new technologies, we're trying to use the new technology to differentiate our core businesses. Take United Airlines, for example. They're doing more than 30 to 35% of their business today through their mobile app. People are checking in, getting online, watching during the flight, the entertainment, all primarily through the mobile app that's either loaded on the tablet or on the phone itself. So really becoming a key differentiator for them in the business. As part of that, all the expectations on IT, on the internal IT, when people look at what they get in the public cloud from vendors like Amazon or Azure, that is changing drastically the expectation on what IT and the way IT is being delivered internally to the organization. That leads quite often to shadow IT, where line of businesses going off to a public services or some open source tool set in order to drive their development. And we have multiple stacks that's available. And then last but not least, the overall agility is being driven through cultural shifts, where we have DevOps driving continuous delivery, driving basically that we have a lot faster applications being delivered to the market, driving that we constantly delivering new capabilities into the ecosystem on a bi-weekly basis sometimes. Okay, so while these new trends are there are still the old problems that we're trying to solve from an IT perspective. We need to continue to ensure the business continuity of the applications. Quite often, even if there are shallow IT and the line of businesses develop something, maybe monitoring it for a certain amount of time. Once a certain capability becomes industrialized, quite often that swings back to the IT ownership and our customers to then take care of. So becoming our problem, and then ensuring business continuity for those type of applications. Optimizing cost of delivery. Every line of business go out and strike their own contract with a provider. It's not ideal for the company. So centralizing that as a central IT, optimizing it to make sure that nothing is overutilized, right-sizing those rents. It's because it's like, think about SharePoint. As we gave SharePoint to the end users to create their own SharePoint farms, everybody wanted maximum amount of capacity. Everybody wanted to, if you had the choice, select it potentially on the fastest CPU possible. If you're not seeing directly the cost of it, you're not directly controlling or trying to optimize it. As a central IT organization, having tool set that allows you to optimize that cost of delivery is key. And then be able to accelerate the overall delivery, doing more stuff and faster with your team. Now, what we have in order to answer that solution is really our HPE Operations Bridge. So it's really the operations through a business lens which actually makes it different. Consolidating all the data into a central place, whether it is all in one IT stack, as classically, or with all the shadow ITs now being able to pull easily through the more than 100 connectors that we have, everything into one single place, and not only the infrastructure, but also the application understanding. And then basically be able to use machine learning and big data technologies to work on the vast amount of information that we are collecting and finding the one needle that is important to understand that there is a problem that you need to act on. Using machine learning analytics to optimize the overall delivery and understanding where is optimization opportunity, where can I save costs, where can I improve utilization. And then once we understand the problem, once we have found the needle, basically use capabilities of automation to drive further adaptation of the environment all the way to autonomous adoption of the environment. Whether it is scaling out an application using orchestration capabilities, whether it's automatic process integration into ticketing system to have an end-to-end flow available, all that is available through the Operations Bridge. And then on top of it, once you do all that and automate it, it becomes very critical to have the right interface for the right audience. So to be completely transparent, so provide a real-time business insight into your IT and showing how the IT provides the value at the end to the line of businesses. All of this is what the Operations Bridge provides, the Operations Bridge through a business lens. And I talk about in a couple of slides on what those capabilities are, and then go into detail on what we changed and why specifically now autonomous operations becomes even more important. So looking into each of these capabilities, starting at the top from a business value perspective, really utilizing the dashboards that you need in order to drive your business. We basically have our business value dashboard that allows us to visualize from the NOC to the board the information that we need. Whether you want to create a NOC wall and want to have dashboards that are fitting from the information you want to have on the wall. Also outside of IT information can be pulled easily into it. You can put video streams in it, so it's very flexible and secure what you can put in. From a access point of view, you can give your executive dashboard that could run on the mobile phone, that could run on the tablet. As I mentioned, you can extend it to information that is non-IT data, have it directly piped into the dashboard, and very importantly, without that data having to leave its original data warehouse source. A lot of other solutions require you to create a central new data store and copy the data yet again so that you can get the dashboarding. Our solution allows you to leave the data where it is and be able to consolidate it in a meaningful, colorful way for you. And it's very simple to create. The example you see on the screen is an example we created together with Vodafone, where they basically consolidated all the different country opcos into a single pane of glass, consolidating how business services are being modeled, utilizing underneath different tools, but consolidating the business service model on top of it, as well as putting in additional business information to it. This dashboard is being used for the different OpCo country leaders to get information about their country. It's also being used in a version for their people in the shops so that they can cut down the calls on the help desk where customers, their employees in the shops typically called and trying to get the status of certain IT. They want to sign up a new contract for a phone, for example. They turn online, the system was down. Instead of calling the help desk, they now have a real-time dashboard that they can look at. Another thing is really the real centralized monitoring through the Operations Bridge, where we have multiple different capabilities that allows you to centrally manage it. See a couple of other dashboards now in the screen on the screen here. Those are more operational dashboard, whether it's the core operational console through the event browser, topology understanding, or on the right, the performance dashboard, and really be able to collect the data. I mentioned more than 100 integrations that we have to third party, bringing it to a central place, doing correlation on the events to be able to remove all the unnecessary duplications, all the unnecessary information, trying to focus through correlation on the key item. Be able, with performance management on a consolidated way, create a graph across multiple different tools, be able to get the information that you need when you troubleshoot performance information, and be able to put all the information into business context. Business context from a business application model perspective, so that you move from pure infrastructure, which is possible, to a business understanding, and then take actions from there. We're coming to those actions in a second. Now, for big data capabilities, what do we have inside the product? It's really multiple components going across sense, optimize, analyze, and report. Sensing the data, why is that relative? As we're looking at the data in real time from a performance perspective, being able to push the data to the central console and put it into a big data store so that the rest of the utilities can longer term take advantage of that data that you primarily from instance perspective collected due to real-time performance monitoring and want to look at it from a real-time performance dashboard, but also want to then keep it longer to run reporting on that same data set. Those two use cases tightly integrated. In addition, we then have with Cloud Optimizer the capability to take the data collected and optimize it. We have customers like our internal IT that was able to save 40% of their virtual machines because they identified through Cloud Optimizer the utilization of those virtual machines. And then they had a set of idle machines sitting around. Utilizing that same technology, moving into the cloud space is what we're looking into. And then last but not least, our analytic capabilities that is primarily originally was focused and designed around root cause analysis, helping you as you're creating as a subject matter expert to work through your log metric data, be able to put dashboards together for your application, and then be able to walk this dashboard with all the information back in time to really understand where potentially something has changed. Utilizing machine learning such as log analytics to exactly point you in that log file that you're currently looking into, what are the significant messages that you're looking into. So those are the big data capabilities. And then last but not least, the automation capabilities, whether it's automating discovery, be able to automatically understand your business service, where you could point Operations Bridge in the ultimate fashion to a entry point of the URL, and then from there of the application, from there we will find the business model down to the infrastructure. So having discovery part of the overall solution. Automatic monitoring through our monitoring automation and the premium capabilities, as well as express capabilities, where we basically are able to identify the systems and automatically using information that we get from the discovery, whether it's a Linux or a Windows host, for example, and use the same policy, but use parameters from the discovery to say, okay, a Unix system or a Linux system, CPU utilization is ABC because I typically have those cores, number of cores, and on a Windows system I have a different one. So adjusting the policies dynamically, as well as new systems get deployed, we find a new org, automatically be able to need for that Oracle system. Last but not least, then automatic remediation from the very basic executing actions on the system to more complex orchestration capabilities that we have in the product, as well as the process automation automatically, the bidirectional integration into our service desk tools that we provide being key of the automation. Now, customers that are actually taking advantage of this around the globe, whether it's Mobiliar is one of the examples, being able to reduce the mean time to repair, primarily through the consolidation and bringing things in business context, they were able to remove a huge amount of pinpointing when they had a problem where one administrative group said, no, this is not my problem, it's the other group's problem. So they get a big war room together trying to find out where the problem is. Today, as the messages and the ticket gets opened directly with the message of the originating toolset, immediately that they can go to the toolset, they see the message in the shape and form that they see in their own toolset and can go in and fixing it. So that really drove a key item in terms of mean time to repair, among other solutions. Or whether it's Vodafone that was able to reduce operational costs by 1.2 million by actually being able to consolidate all these different implementation of the same business service under one umbrella, being able to bring things into the business context and then drive through that overall orchestration capabilities. So really key items that we're seeing people are able to extract from the solution, be able to get up to 70, 80, 90, event reduction when they start utilizing our tools. Every event, essentially, at the end of the day, that doesn't get into the help desk means saves money for us. So what is changing and what is new when we're looking into the Operations Bridge? So at Discover, we launched what we call now autonomous operations through a business lens. And there's an interesting study from BMW, which I'm using here as an example. We have in the driving industry autonomous driving for cars. Now, BMW took that to the extreme and said, okay, what about autonomous motorcycling? When you watch carefully, the rider is actually not wearing a helmet. Right? Today, we wear helmets because protecting ourselves from potential accidents because we are in control. But in the futuristic idea, as the motorcycle takes control, accidents could be prevented. And so it's really the intelligent driving system that takes preventive crash assistance actions. And when you look at it, the core fundamental items that are needed in order to drive these things are sensing the environment, be able from the information that you're sensing to look ahead, analyze what could happen based upon that in real time, and then adapt speed of the motorcycle, brake, etc. So be able to use those capabilities. Those capabilities happen to be the core capabilities of the Operations Bridge, and you'll see how in the future coming slides how we have adapted the Operations Bridge to be more in autonomous operations capabilities, and I'll talk about that in a second. Now, why this change, before we go into that, one more slide on that one, is what we have seen in the environment. I talked around that at the beginning, talking about Docker containers. Well, what is really the problem that we see there? And that is when we look at traditional IT, we had hundreds and thousands of systems that maybe were lasting for months and years in our environment, right? Thus, instrumenting those machines from a monitoring perspective, also from a lifecycle perspective, could take some time. Sometimes even we were spending a week to understand, okay, how best to instrument those applications, and that was fine. Now, we moved over virtual, where every application had its virtual machines. In the past, we had multiple applications on a single system. Then every application has its virtual machines. With Docker, where we're getting to is that an application is broken up into its microservices, and actually a single application ending up into 10, 20, 30 containers. So at one time, we're basically getting a lot more elements to manage, so a lot more information that we need to take a look at. And also with the short-lived environments where things are being spinning up quickly in order to address a certain load that we have in the market, and then are spinning down again, there is very little time to set up monitoring. With a continuous delivery method where every 2 weeks I want to release a new version of the application, I can't take 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in order to set up the monitoring for that application. So the risk really is that items are potentially not monitored. And having items that are not monitored, creating essentially a business risk, because I don't know about the availability of that service. Can I actually deliver the business service? If a customer calls because he can't use that business service, is it because the application is down? Is it because the internet is down? If I'm not monitoring it, I don't have that information. Now, looking at the adoption of containers, when we did our survey, we actually saw that 86% of our customers are adopting containers in the next 12 to 18 months. And that is really accelerating. If we would have done that survey, and we did a survey at our customer advisory board in London, Discover 2015, there were very few customers who were looking into containers. Half a year later, when we did this survey, you can see in all of the customers, 86%. I asked the same question to the customer advisory board again, and almost everybody is now working on adopting containers in their environment. So that's how you see how the speed is accelerating also on adopting new technology. Now, what do we do about that? First of all, it's about content. And that content is available with the overall Docker monitoring pack or management pack for Docker that we provide with the Operations Bridge. And that provides a couple of key capabilities. It provides discovery of the overall Docker infrastructure itself to be able to monitor the Docker infrastructure, but also we are adjusting other management packs such as MongoDB management packs to be able to discover applications that are running inside the Docker container, because quite often we don't have an agent running inside the Docker container. Then being able to visualize the performance of the infrastructure, be able to automate actions for the Docker containers, so that we easily can, in addition to the orchestration capabilities and the custom actions, having automatic out-of-the-box built-in action that allows you to control the Docker infrastructure. And then be able to calculate the overall uptime of the overall compute instances, etc. over time. So really being able to manage those Docker infrastructures is one of the key items that we are providing. Beyond Docker, we are supporting also other cloud content, whether it's AWS or Azure, where with Azure in the next quarter, we're actually participating in the Azure TAP program for the Azure Stack technology preview that Microsoft does. Azure Stack is the on-premise implementation of Azure, so we're closely supporting that. And we're also supporting infrastructure, supporting the Synergy infrastructure through our OneView integration and the OneView connector that we have, but also third-party hyper-converged solutions such as Nutanix are being consolidated into the single pane of glass, really supporting the infrastructure that is underlying this new IT economy that we are seeing. Now, what really drove the autonomous behavior are actually two things at the end of the day. And that is taking analytics from a tool set that is there for root cause analysis to drive the operations. Doing self-sufficient analytics or zero configuration anomaly detection, where all the data that gets into the operations analytics tool set, be able, whether log, event, or metric, be able to detect anomalies and create events out of that that actually tell you, we think in this environment, this is right now critical, something that you need to look at. Using the number of anomalies, whether a single metric or 20 metrics plus 5 log files for a single item, to drive the severity of that anomaly. And then bring it into the business context, so the business model inside of the Operations Bridge to really understand, okay, this anomaly on this system actually going to impact that overall business service at the end of the day. So being able to then look at that anomaly, as this is a machine learning anomaly, we actually want to give you the ability to immediately jump to analytics and investigate, why do we think that is an anomaly? Look at the log files that are significant and the log messages and the context. Look at the performance metrics that drove the anomaly, so that you can immediately assess, is this a false positive, or is it actually a problem I need to immediately react on? And then when you immediately need to react on, be able to drive automation from the Operations Bridge, where we basically utilize our orchestration LinkedIn capability to drive end-to-end automation. As our anomaly detection is able to, up to an hour, be able to detect problems which we have seen at different customers, for example, Playtech, we are now able to potentially even prevent the problem from happening if you acting on those activities with your operational stuff in the right time, and then start the corrective action before actually the problem occurs. That allows you to prevent the overall problem. So that's really key from an autonomous perspective. In analytics, we also have other capabilities that allow us to look faster through the vast amount of log information or information that you have in general, be able to search across all the data through an easy interface, and overlaying that search essentially with an integrated analytics. So while you're searching across your collected data, you now will also be able, that's more again a root cause analysis use case, you're now able to overlay the machine learning analytics, the significant messages, with that search result. So combining search and the analytics machine learning capabilities that we have inside of a single user experience for you with Analytics 3.0. But we're not stopping there. We're also taking the rest of the operations bridge more into an autonomous environment. Having the capability, the environment around you being elastic, being adjusting to environment, we are taking on the path to take our operations bridge on the same elasticity. The very first thing that we're starting out with our newest technology is the business value dashboard that is delivered as a few stateless microservices that easily can scale up and down, utilizing the same infrastructure component that we see standard business applications are today using in order to be able to react to those capabilities. And we're taking the entire operations bridge components, become those microservices and be able to elastically scale to the need of our customers. The other thing we are drastically improving with this release, as I said, we have a huge amount of more components that we need to manage in our environment. So be able to improve those amounts of components through a distribution concept where we have a centralized top-level OMI that is synchronizing itself with child OMIs, and then you have the top level where you set the policies, which are then communicated down to the child level OMIs that are enforcing those policies for our own system collection on the system. Now, last but not least, improving the overall throughput of the environment. As we have more data that is coming through, it needs to be processed faster. So event processing being one of the key items, where we're parallelizing the event chain, be able to drastically improve up to 3x is what we expect in average customers to see, 3x improvement of the overall event pipeline. At this time, having a single pipeline still, but preparing it to actually become a microservice to be have multiple of the event pipelines executed. A couple of other small things to be added is we continue to work on getting Java out of the interfaces. Java removes entirely from the administrative interfaces. We also continue to get the other plugins like Flex out of the interface. We introduced a new HTML5 event browser into the environment, which is at this time living in parallel to the Flex event browser that we're having. It also allows us to support Chrome, where we're basically excluding a CMDB browser, which is not yet capable of supporting Chrome at this point in time. Other items from a BVD perspective, I want to point you to the live network, where there are a lot of business value dashboard examples, also the examples that you see later in the presentation being available. So if you go to the live network, you actually be able to see the different examples that we're creating, which helps you to get started to create your own business value dashboard. And that also now points us to the demo that I was doing at Discover, where we basically created a custom demo through which you can get through this barcode on your mobile phone. If you have a barcode reader loaded, you can actually see a BVD that is tailored towards our services, whether they are in private cloud, AWS, or Azure. And then you can click onto Azure, AWS, and private cloud to get to the details of each service. So, for example, in private cloud, we have the online banking, the account management, and the fraud detection available. And through that, you can navigate easily through the different capabilities. It nicely shows how we can consolidate across different technologies, specifically in the cloud area, and also getting, as you see on the first screen, non-IT data such as weather in it, as well as being able to integrate easily non-IT information in the operations bridge. So this is for you offline to try as we finish the webinar. On the business value dashboard, we're also extending the use cases. So we have a CLIP connector now for our integration into ServiceNow, the VMC Remedy. When we talk to customers around business value dashboard, they want to have statistics around the tickets that they are opening in addition to the operations. And And that is what this connector is essentially giving us. AppLink, a partner that provides one of the plugins that we have for ServiceNow and BMC Remedy, has provided a sample there, which you basically get utilizing that integration. We also take BVD as a standalone to SaaS with a partner, results positive, offering that as a standalone SaaS solution. If you're interested to have that running inside the SaaS, and that also creates additional dashboard like you see here, one that they did for a shipping company. Other dashboards that we are creating, for example, is our own IT, who has created their own dashboard on top of their Cloud Optimizer deployment. I mentioned earlier, being able to save 40% of their virtual machines infrastructure. They're not only using BVD as a consolidation, but they also have created their own simple script to consolidate data from their Cloud Optimizer instances, pushing it directly into the Business Value Dashboard, showing how easy you can use Business Value Dashboard in addition to optimize your overall operations and be able then from there, from this executive level dashboard, to drill down into the single instances of either OMI or Cloud Optimizer in order to investigate this situation further. Then we continue to invest in our core technologies such as the Operations Agent, where we're expanding platform coverage, be able to take it and run it inside of the containers as it is, if you're wanting to, whether it's AWS, Linux, or Linux that we are supporting, as well as being able to support Z-Linux, which we added to the environment so that we can actually support that from a mainframe perspective, or adding in a OO flow that allows you to centrally push agents from the already available YAM, Puppet, or server automation capabilities that we have. Now, two more things from a what's new perspective. One is really, I mentioned at the beginning, one of the trends is that we're getting into Internet of Things. We are introducing and releasing a WinPark content pack for the Operations Bridge that allows us to actually connect ourselves to industry standards, taking our capability to use things like OPC UA, OPC DA, XML, etc., and mail interceptors to get other data, industry standard data into the Operations Bridge, then use our core capabilities, whether it's a Business Value Dashboard to display the information based upon the specific need, or utilizing our consolidation information analytics capabilities to make sense of the data. Quite often we see in industrial environments that you also have multiple different providers, each coming out with their own single standalone monitoring tool. So being able to consolidate and connect to those is relevant for Internet of Things. And this makes now IT more a strategic partner again for the overall company. As your company, if you're manufacturing, going into Industry 4.0, you can use Operations Bridge to assist in moving in that direction, monitoring health and availability of your IT infrastructure. If you're a train company, understanding, I mentioned the example, we have one customer that uses it to understand it for positive train control, where today more or less every train is a data center on rails. So being able to manage that, or the WinPark solution that you see on the site. One of the key items is actually the agent tree infrastructure that allows you a guaranteed delivery to the devices, secure delivery, which is one of the key items to be able to communicate and control with those devices. Last but not least, taking DevOps concepts into the product, utilizing capabilities such as ChatOps, where we have all of our products being integrated. That basically is utilizing collaboration tools such as Slack to actually communicate among IT experts, subject matter experts, help desk, etc., and then working the problem in that chat, communicating with the products through the bots that we are providing. So, for example, executing a tool on a specific system through the Operations Bridge to collect certain performance statistics from that system. As you have all of that in the chat, once you solve the problem, you actually can save the problem and use it as a knowledge base after the fact. So really driving those type of capabilities. Now, as I mentioned, those drive key efficiency across IT, event reduction from 33% like Swiss Mobiliar up to 50% like Bayersdorf, 70 to 80% in the Vodafone case. So really depending on the amount of events, depending on the quality of the events, we're seeing different rates of incident or event reduction that we see. Fidelity able to save 750 man-hours through automating some of their IT processes, such as ticket generation, rather than having a dispatcher there that automatically opens the tickets, doing that automatically through the product. Or then Vodafone Germany, in this case, had an improvement of 118%, same area, being able to reduce the overall tickets and get faster to the root causes using our correlation capabilities. So really driving efficiency up for a customer like Vodafone. Initially started out of Vodafone Ireland, now taking to the Vodafone worldwide and seeing the results in other opcos like the German opcos that you see here quoted. You can find out more, whether it's videos on demand that you see. You have the DVD live demo that I just pointed you to. Also, if you go to the DVD demo, you also have a computer-driven demo that leads you through a banking example. We have customer examples like Mobiliar, you see there, or Van City there at the bottom. Or then generally go to our web pages to get to that information. With that, I want to thank you, and I think we'll open up for questions.
You bet, El. Thank you. Before we get to the questions, just want to let everybody know that these are future ITOM sessions for this Post-Discover Summit. They will commence again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. for Eastern Standard, and I think closer to 11 o'clock for Central European time. We've got a big data service desk. We've got one on Cloud Next, the next generation of cloud management using cloud management software with HPE, and Master Any Cloud with hybrid cloud management from HPE. So these are sessions you'll see tomorrow, February 1st, and then starting again on February 2nd, we'll have 2 sessions in the ITOM space. If you've got team members that are focused in the ADM space, these are the following sessions that will commence again, starting with tomorrow at February 1st at 6:30 Eastern time and I think 12:30 Central time. Agile delivery, enabling the shift towards Agile and DevOps, supporting the idea economy in the world of finance. That's a partner customer presentation. We always love those. And so that's the agenda for the rest of the summit for tomorrow and the next day. And one other announcement for the EMEA folks, save the date. There's the EMEA Software Customer Forum for 2007 in Dublin. And the beauty of these events now, they are software focused. So you won't have to deal with all the hardware vendors. It's going to be back to customers focusing on software. So be on the lookout for the registration for this event and save the date if you're in the area. So let's go to the questions, and then we'll close out with the survey. So before you leave, make sure you fill out the survey. It helps us do a better job of providing the content that you, our members, would like. And I know Brendan's been answering questions online as well, and we have a lot of questions. If we don't get to all your questions. They will be answered and followed up with the recorded webinar in the next day or so that you can capture the questions that members are asking. So let me start with a few. We've got about 9 minutes, so let's take advantage of this opportunity to see if we can answer some of the questions. So let's go with the first one. We use several management tools. Why would I want another tool like this?
So basically, what we see from a toolset perspective, quite often we hear, I have already all toolsets that I need. But a best example is Mobiliar, right? And they were basically not having that consolidation there, and everybody was integrating into tickets. You're not optimizing the ticket generation, and you are not optimizing the mean time to repair because you're having a lot of finger pointing, etc. So being able to consolidate that information, streamline that information to remove duplicates that are coming from different data sources, your networking telling you that you have an issue, your application telling you that you have an issue. So having each of those generating tickets, each ticket, even the one that are closed by a level 1 operator, based on the story, costs us and the customer $17. So really being able to do that efficiently is a key item. And with all the area of analytics, being able to take the operations to the next level, be able to adapt to the challenges of the new environment.
Great. Question here, how does OpsBridge monitor services like AWS, Azure, and others? Does it support AWS auto-scaling? And what about licenses for AW microservices? We've got 3 questions there.
Yeah, so we basically have a management pack as well as a side scope connector that basically is connecting into the AWS or Azure monitoring solution, and then pulls information without installing our own agent tree, for example, onto the system into Operations Bridge. So we basically connecting remotely to the AWS monitoring toolset. We are right now expanding it beyond EC2 to ECS, RDS, and the other services that are there. So we started out with essentially EC2, which are the basically the compute instances on AWS, now supporting services, databases, etc. As not exactly sure what Keith meant by auto-scaling, so you may want to post another question, explain a little bit better. So as a toolset, BVD can run inside a AWS, and we do support their auto-scaling inside AWS. We're utilizing our own orchestration capabilities, whether from Staccato or down the road then from Kubernetes, and we bring our platform to do the auto-scaling. From our monitoring perspective, if the system auto-scales and AWS creates additional instances, we would go out and discover those and add them to our monitoring. So from that angle, supporting it. In terms of AWS microservices, as I mentioned, we are adding with the release in February to the management pack the capabilities to monitor ECS, which is equal to the AWS microservices. So we are expanding. We're also adding in CloudWatch logs to be able to collect those and then take advantage of those. So changing environment.
Okay, great. I think someone was asking, show demos of automation, please. Will the demo that you've set up at Discover, will that kind of go through some of the automation components, Harold?
So the demo for Discover, where I gave you the QR code, is basically just showing you business data dashboard and the capabilities of cloud monitoring to a certain extent. We have other demos that we show where you basically drive end-to-end and either either remediation actions, scale-out actions, other capabilities where we see automation. We also have a live demo environment. So if you're particularly interested in a OpsBridge automation demo, how we can integrate into automation, that would be to make an appointment with your partner or pre-sales, HP sales representative, and then have us walk through for you through those capabilities. Those demos are available.
Great. Any APIs to leverage the reporting capability?
So there is I would assume the question meant, is there an API to the database? So our reporting capabilities are part of the Operations Bridge Reporter, which stores the data in the Vertica database. And yes, we do have published APIs to that Vertica database. I need to check how well they are documented, but I have given those specifically to a couple of other customers who have asked before. So those APIs are available. As we are working through consolidating all of these different big data use cases beyond a single store once, collect once architecture, where today some of the use cases have independent collection and independent Vertica databases. We might adjusting those APIs as we go through them, but or improving them. But those APIs are available.
Great. Do we have access to use the BBD OpsBridge user interface from Propel or the Service Portal UI, i.e., logging into Propel and pass through to the said URLs? I
don't know the answer whether we have single sign-on with Propel. I would need to check. Generally, we support the standard HPE ITOM single sign-on capabilities. And I don't know how much Propel does it. I would assume it does, but I have not had that question before, so I don't know. Something we need to follow up. Generally, you can obviously, SBVD is essentially a HTML5 interface, as well as a lot of the OpsBridge interfaces are essentially URLs. You can easily put those URLs as links or in iframes in another UI portal, such as the Propel, for example, if that is what you're looking into. So should be generally possible. I haven't had that question, so I have not discussed it with engineering, so don't know for sure, but technology-wise should work.
Okay. Carl, I got a question on, does the database for OpsBridge, is it part of the installation binaries? In other words, is the database, I'm thinking, included in OpsBridge to support that integration?
So we have a option that has an embedded database that you can install that uses an embedded Postgres database that you can install. We have a lot of customers that, however, are using an external database, whether it is external Postgres, Oracle, or Microsoft SQL, the database that we are supporting. And the reason for that is to then utilize HA capabilities of those databases, whether it's Oracle, RAC, or other type capabilities, specifically in large-scale environments. That's what we customers use. From another database that we have inside Vertica, those Vertica is an external Vertica. It's not, it's an external install. So something that we are connecting to from a database perspective.
Great.
And that's the Vertica used for the big data use cases. Okay.
Okay. I mean, that's great because I know in the past the embedded database wasn't as powerful as it could have been, so we had to go to an Oracle, especially in the operations manager space. So this is kind of great to hear that the embedded database will do the job, but we support the other databases if the customer has that in their environment. And one of the answered questions was, will we be getting a copy of the presentation? And the answer is yes, you'll be getting a copy of the presentation, as well as the, I think we're providing a PDF download you'll see that in the download files, but we'll be sending you the presentation with the recording and answers to all the questions. Let's see if we have time for just one more. Let's see what how this one goes. We already have HPE OML and HPE OMI 10. Is there a standard migration step available to monitor automation and OpsBridge?
Yeah, so there is a migration book on how you can get the policies that you had in OML loaded into the policies and monitoring automation. And there's a evolution book. We also have evolution roundtables where customers can go in and share their experience, which we are holding. We have customers like Boeing, who spoke at the event in Vegas, Discover Vegas, who by now have switched off their OML, and I'm very happy with the move that they did. So, short answer, yes, there is, and there's a lot more resources if you want to learn on how other customers have done it, or get into a community on how this move is actually working, if you want to.
We've had a lot of customers on OM being a core product of the HP world back in the day, and the good news is that if customers are under support today, they can move right into OpsBridge and the core set of tools within OpsBridge, and also move into some of the more advanced features with an upgrade. So that's a beautiful thing I think HP's done to support the ongoing tools and leveraging existing OM agents in the new OpsBridge environment. So that's great. What one last one? What version of OpsBridge is this that we're talking about today?
So good question. So the OpsBridge Suite releases in version based on date. So there's 2017.1 that's being released on the product side. This is essentially OMI 10.6, which is a follow-on release after 10.12. Some internal numbering reasons on why we moved from 10.12 to 10.6. So you didn't miss out any release in between there. On the analytics side, it's version 3.0 that we are releasing. On the OBR side, which we didn't cover, it had a couple of small enhancements in there in terms of content and other items. It is version 10.1 that we are releasing, so a couple of multiple versions. The key items are really 10.6 for OMI and Analytics 3.0.
So at this point, we're current on releases. And do you see a release coming soon or later in the year, or are we kind of set at this point?
So at this point in time, you have seen us since summer quarterly releasing the versions. So we had a version in September. Now we're doing one in January. So we plan to continue that path. We think that annually we'll have a update of minor versions. The September release was 10.12. So we're likely going down that path as well. But we are right now on a quarterly release train. And then content is continuously updated, as I mentioned. We're planning an update in February. So moving on.
Well, great. I think we've addressed most of the questions, and if they weren't answered, they'll be answered in the follow-up email that we send to everyone that attended today's session, as well as the folks that opted in. And with that, I think we are done. Harold, thank you for a great presentation on OpsBridge and where it's going. And for those, make sure you're aware that we've got 2 more days of summits to cover both ADM and OpsBridge, or the ITOM suite of products. And with that, I will say good day. Thank you.
Thank you.